He locked them out to protect them from who inside?
Mom, why isn't Daddy opening the door? The question didn't just land, it echoed out there in the freezing dark with the wind cutting through us like glass. It felt louder than it should have been. I pulled Daisy closer, my 8-year-old, small and shaking, her fingers gripping my coat like I might disappear too. Her nose was red, her lips trembling. I don't know, baby, I whispered. But that was a lie, because something felt wrong, deeply wrong. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. My name is Emily Wilson. I'm 29 years old, and that night, my husband locked us out of our own home. I turned back to the door and knocked again, harder. Jason! I shouted, my voice cracking. This isn't funny, open the door! Nothing. Then, movement. Through the narrow strip of frosted glass, I saw it, a shadow. He was there, standing just inside, close enough to hear us, close enough to see his daughter shivering on the porch. Jason, I said again, softer this time, please. For a moment, he didn't move. And then he turned his back and walked away, just like that. No explanation, no hesitation. Gone. Daisy looked up at me, her voice barely there. Did I do something bad? That question hit harder than the cold. No, I said quickly, kneeling down in front of her. No, you didn't do anything. This isn't about you. But even as I said it, my mind was racing. Because this wasn't like Jason, or maybe it was and I just hadn't seen it yet. I reached for my phone, 6% battery. No signal. Perfect. I laughed once, dry, hollow. Okay, we'll figure this out. I muttered more to myself than to her. Minutes passed. Then more. The cold seeped deeper into my bones. The silence from inside the house? Worse. He wasn't yelling, wasn't pacing, wasn't doing anything we could hear. It was like we didn't exist anymore. We waited and waited. And just when I thought the night couldn't feel any heavier, hours later, from inside the house, something moved. Not footsteps, not normal movement. Something slower, deliberate. And in that moment, I knew that wasn't just Jason in there. Why would he do this? That question kept looping in my head over and over, like if I thought about it hard enough, it would finally make sense. I shifted my weight, trying to keep circulation in my legs while holding Daisy close. She was quieter now, too quiet. Her shivering had turned into small, uneven tremors. That scared me more than anything. Stay with me, okay? I whispered, brushing her hair back. Talk to me. But my mind kept drifting back inside. To Jason Wilson, 34 years old, my husband for 10 years. A man I thought I understood. A man who, up until tonight, had never ever done something like this. Or had he? The cracks were there. I just didn't want to see them. Earlier that night felt normal on the surface. Dinner at the table. Daisy talking about school. Jason nodding along but distracted. Distant. Then his phone buzzed. One message. That's all it took. He looked down at the screen and everything changed. His posture stiffened. His face went pale, not angry, not annoyed, afraid. Who was that? I asked casually. Work, he said. Too fast. Too clean. And he didn't look at me when he said it. That was the first moment something felt off. 10 minutes later, he stood up suddenly. Hey, can you guys step outside for a second, he said. I frowned. Why? I just need a minute, please. There was urgency in his voice. Not frustration, not irritation, pressure. I should have questioned it more. I should have refused, but I didn't. I grabbed Daisy's hand and we stepped onto the porch. No coats, no warning. And then, click, the door locked behind us. At first, I laughed. Jason, seriously? I knocked lightly, very funny. No response. Then I heard it inside, drawers opening, footsteps, fast, not calm, not controlled, panicked. That's when the realization started forming. This wasn't about us. This wasn't punishment. This was something else. I moved to the side window, wiping away frost with my sleeve, trying to see inside. Jason! I called again, louder, for a split second. I saw him standing in the hallway, frozen, and behind him, someone else. A tall figure, still, watching, my breath caught in my throat. I blinked, and they were gone. No movement, no sound, nothing. I slowly stepped back, my heart pounding harder than the cold could numb. Because now I understood something that made everything worse. We weren't being locked out because of him. We were being locked out because of whoever was inside with him. And the most terrifying part, I don't think Jason was in control anymore. Mom, I'm really cold. Daisy's voice barely made it out this time. That's what snapped me out of it. Not the fear, not the confusion. I crouched down immediately, pulling her into me, rubbing her arms, trying to bring warmth back into her skin, but it wasn't working fast enough. Stay with me, okay? Look at me, I said, forcing a calm I didn't feel. We're gonna fix this. But how? I checked my phone again, 1%. I dialed 911 anyway. Held my breath. Nothing. No bars. No connection. And then, black screen. Dead. Of course, I muttered, a sharp edge creeping into my voice. I looked back at the house, warm light still glowing from inside. So close. Too close. Okay, I whispered. I need to see what's going on. I guided Daisy to sit against the wall where the wind hit less directly. Don't move, I'm right here. Just right around the corner, okay? She nodded weakly. I didn't like leaving her, but doing nothing wasn't an option anymore. I moved quickly along the side of the house, every step crunching against frozen ground, every sound feeling too loud. Every window I passed, locked, curtains drawn tight, like the house was hiding something, or someone. Then I reached the back. Jason's office, the light was on, and the door wasn't fully closed. My heart started pounding harder. Slowly, carefully, I stepped closer, and then I heard it. Voices. Low, sharp, urgent. You said they wouldn't be here, a man snapped. Not Jason. Not even close. They weren't supposed to be, Jason whispered back, his voice strained. You've made this messy. I'm fixing it. How? By panicking? My stomach dropped. Fixing what? Messy how? I leaned in closer, trying to catch more, and that's when it happened. Creak, the smallest sound, but loud enough. The voices stopped instantly. Silence. Heavy. Then, footsteps. Fast. Coming straight toward the door. My body reacted before my mind could. I ran back around the house, my breath burning, my heart slamming against my ribs. I grabbed Daisy, pulling her up just as slam. The back door shut hard behind me. Seconds later, the front door handle rattled violently. Once, twice, then stopped. Emily, Jason's voice came through the door. Low, controlled, too controlled. Take Daisy and leave right now. My chest tightened. What is happening? I shouted. A pause. Then, I'm trying to keep you safe. The words didn't comfort me. They made everything worse. From what? I demanded. Silence. No answer. And then, from inside the house, a loud crash. Glass shattering. Something heavy hitting the floor. And a voice. Not Jason's. Loud. Angry. They know you're here. Daisy grabbed my arm. Mom, who's in there? I stared at the door, every instinct screaming now. This wasn't just a secret. This was something dangerous. And whatever it was, it had just realized we existed. Emily, run! Jason's voice tore through the door, raw and desperate. Not controlled anymore, not calm. Gone was the man who had shut us out. This was someone else entirely. And that's when I knew whatever was inside that house had just crossed a line. I didn't hesitate. I grabbed Daisy's hand and ran, barely thinking, just moving, down the driveway, onto the street, the cold air burning my lungs with every breath. Behind us. Bang. The front door burst open so hard it slammed against the wall. I turned without meaning to. Jason stumbled out onto the porch, one hand gripping his side like he'd been hit. His face was pale, strained, and for the first time that night, terrified. Go! He shouted again, his voice cracking. But he wasn't alone. A second figure stepped into the light behind him. Slow, controlled, deliberate, not rushing, not panicked, watching. The man looked to be in his mid-40s, clean jacket, calm posture, eyes that didn't match the chaos around him. Cold, measured, like he already knew how this would end. Jason, the man said evenly, stepping forward, you made this harder than it needed to be. My feet slowed. I didn't want them to, but they did. Because something about his voice, it wasn't loud, but it carried control, authority. Jason looked at me then, really looked at me, and what I saw wasn't anger, wasn't even fear. It was regret. I'm sorry, he said. 2 words, heavy enough to explain everything and nothing. For what? I yelled back, my voice shaking. The man tilted his head slightly, studying me. He didn't tell you? He asked calmly. Jason closed his eyes for a second. That was all it took. That small reaction, that silence, that confirmation, something inside me dropped hard. Jason, I whispered, barely recognizing my own voice. What did you do? He didn't answer. The man did. Your husband owes people money, he said plainly. A lot of it, to the kind of people who don't wait patiently. No, I shook my head instantly. No, that's not. He thought tonight he could fix it, the man continued, ignoring me. Move things, hide assets, maybe disappear before we noticed. Jason stepped forward despite the pain in his side. Leave them out of this. I tried, the man replied, almost bored. Then he looked directly at me. And that, he said, gesturing slightly toward the house, is why he locked you out. Everything clicked into place at once. The phone call, the panic, the locked door, the silence, not cruelty, not abandonment, protection, desperate, miscalculated, too late. In the distance, faint at first, sirens growing louder, and for the first time since he stepped outside, the man's expression shifted, just slightly, because whatever control he thought he had, it was starting to slip. The sirens got louder, not distant anymore, close, too close to ignore. For the first time that night, the man's calm expression cracked just slightly. His eyes flicked toward the sound, calculating, adjusting. Did you call them? He asked Jason, his tone tightening. Jason shook his head immediately. No. Then both of them looked at me. I didn't. I said, my voice steady despite everything. And I hadn't, but someone had, a neighbor maybe, the shouting, the crash, the door slamming open in the middle of the night, it was enough. And now everything was catching up. The man exhaled slowly, like the night had suddenly become inconvenient. This isn't worth it, he muttered. Just like that. No dramatic exit, no final threat. He turned and walked off into the darkness, disappearing between houses as the first police car turned onto the street, lights flashing red and blue across the snow. Jason didn't run, didn't argue, didn't even look surprised. He just stood there, waiting. And when the officers approached, weapons drawn, voices sharp and controlled, he raised his hands. It's over, he said quietly. The truth came out in pieces. Then, all at once, Jason had been in debt for over a year. Not small loans, serious money tied to people who didn't operate legally. It started with a business investment that failed, then more borrowing to cover it, and then more until there was no way out. That message I saw, it was the warning they were coming. That night, Jason tried to move cash and documents he had hidden in his office, assets he thought might buy him time or a way out. But he didn't expect them to arrive early, and he definitely didn't expect us to be there when it happened. So he made a choice: lock us out, keep us away from whatever was about to happen inside that house. It didn't excuse it, but it explained it. Jason was arrested that night, not for violence, but for financial crimes, fraud, and ties to illegal operations connected to the people who came looking for him. He didn't fight it. He confessed, took a plea deal, 3 years. Daisy and I moved in with my sister the next day. Warm house, familiar faces, safe. But everything felt different, quieter, heavier. One night, a few weeks later, Daisy asked me something I still think about. Mom, did Daddy save us or hurt us? I didn't answer right away because the truth wasn't simple. I thought about the cold, the locked door, the fear, and the reason behind it. He tried to protect us, I said finally, and he also put us in danger. She nodded slowly, like she understood more than she should have. Months passed. Life rebuilt itself in small ways. Routine, school, work, normal things. But stronger boundaries, clearer vision, no more ignored signs. The last time I saw Jason was in a courtroom. He looked older, smaller, but when he saw us, he didn't look away, and neither did I, because now everything was clear. Spring came slowly that year, but it came, and one evening, standing at the front door of our new place, Daisy ran ahead and pushed it open without hesitation. Warm air rushed out to meet us. Light, safety, stability. I followed her inside, and this time, the door closed behind us, unlocked.
So, protection or betrayal? What would you have done outside that door?